Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie, nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz, że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej, by być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni, nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.
The other thing that you talked about in the interview that you had the other day about the planet coming closer to the sun. In 1988, there was a report that the planet had slightly slowed in revolution. Is that what you're talking about the coming closer or over time to the sun?
We always have moved closer to the sun. We think we are a big planet. It takes us 24 hours to go from one point to another. But in fact, we are a speck of dust. And this speck of dust has two factors. First of all, it goes through a point of conversion. If you look at it when you're a far distance in Saturn and Jupiter, you gather a lot of gases. As you come closer to the field interaction, you gather the higher strength you achieve with the interaction of higher strength from the field of the sun, you gather more materials. The rate of the expansion of the matter state of this Earth compared to where it was in the point of Jupiter billions of years ago is totally different. We convert much more energy to matter now that we used to attract fields of the gases. That's why we're such a gaseous big planets at the far end. But gradually, as we come closer to the sun, we change. We attract, we convert more of the energy to the matter state because of the closeness and the high fields. So we have never stopped gravitating towards the sun. And maybe, as we explained before, the center of the planet has a composition of the fields interactions, if you read even in a pattern of Britain, that attracts more of the fields of the neutrino fields of the sun or the universe or the galaxy. That energy creates a new condition for Earth to find its position in respect to the sun. Will it tilt us over? Would it become more dynamic? Would it go in a way of changing its motion? Because on Earth up to now, we only look in a very narrow way in the existence of the planetary system. If we look in the dimension of different way, what we see, we think always the sun rotates in circular and the Earth will take a path like this. But in reality, most of the time, the planetary system has a sinusoidal reaction depending on its matter state or the field attraction. In some planets, we see a totally different way. The motion is in a way of a rectangular combination. And this has a lot of direct effect on how the planet has matured itself in respect to its position and its center. And in the universal dimension, by the shape and the path of a planet or a star in a galaxy or a universe, we know what is the composition of that star or that planet. Man looks at the fields and decides what are the content of it. We look at the direction of the motion and the heartbeat, and we understand the energy of the planet. It's totally two different things. And so Earth is gathering that energy change as it gets closer, and eventually we will burn. The way what we see is a very high possibility that the Earth is in a process of more or less changing the direction of rotation. It's quite possible. But it will go the way it looks through a 90-degree shift, which means what has happened, if you look at it in a simple way, if you look at the Earth axis, it's like this, where the vertical and the horizontal is this. Earth is moving to this position. So in the next few millions of years, we expect the Earth to go through this rotation. But again, if the field strength, which is very possible, will push the Earth not only into this, but into the anti-clockwise motion and into a clockwise. Because the transformation of the fields, and as this happens, there is some changes in the speed because you have to come to a little halt and then stop and reverse. We see this with the reactors. We see this with our space reactors. And this is quite possible. It's 100% without the shadow of a doubt, Earth is going to a vertical rotation, to a horizontal line, without a doubt. That's why even our seasons are changing in a very slow way, but faster than before. If we speak to our great grandfathers, they will tell us the position of our the way it was their time. It's not all global warming, it's not all that. Earth is very rapidly going through a transition of the direction of the rotation and motion. We see it in, it's very clear that from what we have from geological data and what we have from the traces of the fields of the Earth in its what we call solar system, we are going into a position of the halt within the next maybe 500,000 years, maybe less, maybe next 1 million years. If we go that far further, that the Earth will change till totally to this position. Then we rotate only in this axis.
So that would bring different influences, like, you know, the axis. My understanding is when the axis is pointing in, say, to the constellation, say, of Aquarius, it brings in certain qualities, say, for example, synthesis in this particular age, and bringing people together.
There is, no. Let me explain to you something very interesting. Direction of the change of the motion of the fields of the planet does not change the direction of the fields of distribution of the fields of the planet. Doesn't mean that we're going to take our fields this way and out that way. We still work through the internal field forces of the universe, but the inner field forces will force the physical change. Not just because on your side, it's like you think you're looking with your eyes up this way. From the field point of view. And if you look at the geological pattern, what we see in some places, not in all places, geologists tell you that this place used to be in the North Pole. It's not the first time we are going into this switch. Over the cycle of the Earth, from the boundary of the solar system to here, all planetary systems go through this diversion and dimension and rotation. We see Uranus going the other way. We see Venus going the other way, and they just don't go boom in one go. Over a billion, we are all rotating, all the planetary system, all of them, due to the position in respect to Sun, we are continuously in change. But in the process of when we go from horizontal to vertical, we don't come that our fields go from this side in. The fields straight will transmute this way. The change of the rotation is a physical dimension.
Okay, that's explained.
So your Venus, your God knows, your Uranus and whatever in zodiac sign, it still has the same field. Mainly what is it creates the condition of the change of the planetary system to go in vertical or whatever is partially dependent on the inertia interaction with the field within the center too. It's not all one. Because inertia itself, if it comes in a mass ratio in the energy level, if you understand that your inertia is on the surface, and if this mass ratio of the field strength become big enough that can interact, will influence this change. Because now it's two of them have to interact. Earth crust is very thin, so inertial interaction stays on a very thin layer. But if Earth creates bigger and thicker fields by conversion, then this will have a bigger interaction with the center and will change this. We see that with the stars. We see that in the creation of the stars, where if you have the seed of the star, you have nothing, and then you have the layer of gaseous, as you call it, ocean of fields. In fact, in the center, it's just interaction of the fields that in the slowing down, they manifest themselves as a new inertial layer in the sun. And the interaction of the fields from here with the interaction of the fields from inertia creates the light we see. And the light we see is only the spectrum of the fields which is I at the level of the amino acid of the man. We don't see, if you had a different what you call amino acid strength, you will not see the sun this way. Maybe you see the sun more from in its inner because you do not come in interaction with the field of these. Or some of us, according to our strength of amino acid, might see the sun dimension near to the earth. It's from the point of observer and where we fit in the balance of the fields.
Okay, that's very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. You got to remember to understand this is a simple fact that we've been told by mistake by our scientists over time that the Earth's magnetic field, as I've said before, comes like this and it goes like that. Yeah, but in fact, the fields come from every dimension, in every direction, and it doesn't come only from the bottom. They come from every angle into the equator. And some of it, depending on which way they enter, they might come this way. So we have the fields this way too. Depends on which strength we are going. The one thing which, if you were in the space technology, will understand what I'm trying to explain, is very simple. We say the Earth's magnetic field on the North Pole is 3 to 5%. I'll write it with the right hand. I should know with my left, it's easier. We say that the magnetic field from the north to south is 3 to 5% more. Yeah? But follow now the understanding of all of the plasma. Earth is a plasma. So for it to be more, to get the traffic, this polarity has to be weaker than this polarity, that the stronger feeds the weaker.
Yeah, okay.
You understand?
Yeah.
This direction of the flow through the Earth, as we say, it goes from the north to south, is interaction of the fields of the north in the gravitational being stronger than the north gravitation. And it's a bullet which goes through. And in that process absorbs some more plasmas. And in that process, the higher speed creates more division of the fields, which are actually coming in the other way. At any time, the field interaction inside the planetary system is not what our scientists have been telling us.
That looks like our lungs.
That looks like a brain.
A brain,
It's
yes.
not,
Yeah.
Many of the cancers created by the division of the two fields of the two sides of the hemisphere of the brain of the man, where they are by being in different strengths, for example, in interaction with the other side will create a friction which leads to creation of evolution and cells which it might be the cause of what we call cancers or evolution. In time, man will understand. If you look at it in true essence, there's no difference between the man and the planet.
So
Fields come in, the fields come in, and the fields go out in the same.
And the soul of the planet is in the center?
The soul of the planet is somewhere down here. And the planet is in the center, if you call it, yeah. But as a human race, so with respect to sun, are always have that center of interaction.
My question was about the meteoroid. I was really touched, and in a way that I couldn't work it out myself. All the knowledge you have already given, that meteoroids are the field interaction where they manifest themselves in physicality. But the question was, when they do come to the planet, to our planet, and they disintegrate, and when they do fall down and then they break up, those which are disintegrated, where do they go? The soul, do they go back to their origin? Do they ever go back to their origin and be the life that they had? Do they ever get their life back? Or they're diminished and destroyed? Well, they're not destroyed. I know they go back to their field as a field again, as a plasma. But do they ever go back to what they were?
In some occasions, yes. Depending in that process, you can see when a man becomes knowledgeable to this, you will see in some cases in the process of conversion with the high field interaction with the, what we call maybe re-entry on the earth, we create that condition of their life in the point of their existence, physical dimension. We can see in some of the meteorites such a thing, but the lack of knowledge in understanding it is there. It's very much like when the man dies and the soul of physicality separates from the soul of the man. When the house burns out, you run out of the house. When the physicality dies, the soul runs out of the house. And when these meteorites enter and create a condition that is about their demise, the soul leaves. This is what I call change of hands of the clothing. What happens to the light we observe of a meteorite? It's an energy which we absorb. It's the soul of another being which interacts with our soul, and we become a host to another cycle of life without us knowing. It's that gas of CO2, and then you have a magnesium to it, becomes CO2 magnesium. This is part of the beauty of knowledge of the creation, which when the man stops living the physical life, we'll see. Is the process does not end. Is not at, we say, the day of judgment and that's it, you go to heaven. No, it doesn't happen. You just go through another process of the creation, the process of living.
Mr. Keshe, sorry. Another questions come up. It baffles me really. You mentioned that when we put this metroid into the enhancement unit, if we create that field strength and the environment of the inertia of where they came from, we would see them alive and manifest themselves. My question was, would they sustain themselves at that environment, as well as how would we see them as? Would they manifest themselves as human, or the actual creature they actually are in their own environment?
It's a very simple question to answer, but in a very, what I call, a special way. And that is, how would you treat your guest? An unexpected guest, or a guest which you invite and you welcome to your home? Would we, in creating a condition for them to manifest themselves, would we greet them? Would we become mature enough to be able to understand the process of the creation, to accept them and welcome them? Or, as is tradition, we run, we shout and fight, and we try to put them in machines, and we make a prisons of that, the way we say we did with those alien systems that landed in, is it Area 50 or 51 or whatever? If we have such a passengers of the universe with us, and we have engaged them in whatever we are supposed to do, and they are partially in whatever, have we tried to create their environment that they can survive? Or to us, this another creature. We hold animals in the zoo, we keep the fishes in the tank, and we think we are very kind because we give them a new place, a new prison dimension of our choice. When we come across now that we have the knowledge with another cycle of life, how would we treat them now that we know we are responsible for it? It's another child. We, through our knowledge, have given them the position of manifestation. We are responsible for it. We have to find a way for it to feed it. We have to find a way to accommodate its emotion. But now we are wise to it. We'll soon learn how. If and when the government opens up these secrets of the banks of whatever, we call them aliens, are with us? Can we create a dimension for them to have the pleasure to be part of us openly, the way the others are with us on this planet? Why can't these, as we say, aliens or whatever, don't convert like the rest into the human clothing or the human body? And this is the process that we have to understand. We've been ignorant to it. Why, if we have these passengers of universe, we can't accommodate them, that we give them a condition, we understand the position of their communication, that they can teach us about where they come from, how they work. How come some of them can convert where they choose? This is when you see these pictures of what you call aliens, it raises a lot of questions for me. If these people had the knowledge to travel this part of the universe and they're here, do they have a problem to convert themselves into another dimension? Do they need to be the prisoners of man? Or we, through accident, they cannot convert, they cannot adjust, they cannot, we haven't created a condition for them to show their real features. They have, due to the gravitational magnetic field of the earth and condition, they are here, they have not managed to fully convert. How come millions of them live amongst us, they take our features and we never know them? It's not that the last chance we have with the people from outside. Every day we have a chance. How many of you, how many times have passed one without you knowing? It's never the last chance and the only hope. We are part of that structure who has come in and chosen to be. If you're Chinese, you go to America, you start living like Americans. Maybe your features are slightly different because you still look Chinese, but you eat bacon and egg, you go to McDonald's and everything else. You take the style of living. And some of you, you're Chinese, you go to America, you don't eat anything but Chinese food. That's the only thing I want to eat. I don't want to know what a hamburger is. And you don't go through the conversion, you just change the position. These are the same. They live amongst us. They are with us. If you were in the Rome conference, the last Rome conference, I asked the audience, and I said, there's one of our family from outside within us here in this room. And one woman just got up, it's me. Where actually the person who is, or the body who was, identified yourself very straight away. It was obvious. That's why when I looked at it, when he looked back at me, it was obvious. It was so clever. We both laughed at the stupidity of the moment. Because they are part of us. They have become amongst us. You see a lot of them in South America. You see a lot of them in Africa. They have a typical features that is connected with their conversion. When they convert to be like human race, they all take certain shape. It's just like, you know, you go to church, oh, these are black from Ghana, or these are black from Kenya. Even in the Chinese community, you identify them because you know different cultures of Africa, and doesn't matter where they come up, you can say. They're all like diamonds. They have their own beauty, and does not matter which river or which mine or which ocean we capture them from. This is what we got to mature to. Then we will see around us. I was sitting with someone in Ghana in a shopping center, and I've said that before. And they came, they knew I recognized them. They tried to go and hide between the lift and the staircase, and they were somehow blocked. They had to come back, and I confirmed to them, I respect you for what you are, and as a guest. And it was amazing how they changed. I recognized many of them, even walking up the streets in Linz. They become adapted to us, to live on this planet. Maybe because they lost their homeland. We don't have on the streets of our Munich or London just the refugees from planet Earth, from Syria or Iraq or whatever, or Iran. We have refugees from other planetary systems which they have been lost in the process, or they have educated themselves in the travel of the universe, and by coming here, they chose to be here because the home has been lost while they've been away. Galaxies collide. Star formations collide. It's the same as what we have hurricanes, and we have earthquake, and people have to move and go to another point of the earth to live. It doesn't change anything. It's the same truth. It's just that us as human beings want to twist it the way it suits us. The fact doesn't change. It's a conversion. It's understanding of, in processing the knowledge and the technology.
Keshe, thank you very much for your explanation. It's beautiful. And I'm sure humanity at large, we would embrace any race, any aliens, if they
You
were
mean
to be among
us?
us.
We are aliens ourselves.
Yeah, we are. Yes, we are alien ourselves. But if they were to show their true features and true physicality, we the humanity, we would not really and truly do anything wrong as such. But there are elements like anything else, obviously in the system, within the system, where they would have different agendas. But people like us who are just walking up and down in their daily life, we have no bad feeling or any misunderstanding with any creatures. And we will definitely welcome them. And now that the knowledge that you have spread, we have far more in-depth understanding of what life is all about, what creation is all about. We will be more embracing than ever. And I'm just hoping that humanity will catch up, the rest of humanity will catch up soon, and they will come in line with this understanding that we're all the same. It just doesn't matter with physicality and how we look or how we are shaped, but we're all the same in essence. And hopefully, I'm actually longing for the day that I could see aliens amongst us, and just
maybe you are yourself one, but never realized.
Perhaps. God bless. And I wish you a lot of luck, Mr. Keshe. And I'm hoping and I'm wishing, and my prayers is all the time, continuously is with you to be among us for, or amongst humanity for hundreds of years to come, because we have so much to learn, and you're the only one who can unravel the keys and speed up humanities to these frontiers, and embracing what reality is in Unicos, so to speak. And I wish you all the time an eternal life. God bless you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
So much.
Thank you. We got to understand that mankind has to teach its children not to be prejudiced from their childhood, that never grows into adulthood, and then it creates conflicts. We teach our children to be prejudiced because of the language, because of the color of skin. And we have to teach our children to be blind, except to the beauty of a person. That even if there is fault in another, you always look over it because you are more faulty than them. You feel this, especially nowadays, that there is a huge movement of people around the world. How our children feel, how our children are targeted because they are not of the place where the others are. We haven't taught our children to be respectful and embrace the totality as we are part of. I remember our youngest son, when he was 5 years old, in a primary school, they called us around September. They said to us, your child has to be out of the school because you are a foreigner by November. And we had to understand it, because when it came November, they taught their children how to beat him, how to push him, to make life so miserable that he doesn't go to school. And it's happened. We had to withdraw him from the school because of the way the Belgians showed their love to my child. And they told us months before they're going to do it. We create the hate. A child of 5 years old see everybody the same as a friend. But when we teach them the racism, when we teach them the color difference, that's what becomes. And we thought, that's it, all the Belgians are like this. We brought him to Italy. He suffered more because the Italians don't accept anyone who's not Italian in the school. Even the teachers torture the children who are got a father from outside Italy. It's the way we teach our children. He had to stand in the fields watching the others play football. He had his football with him. They won't play with him because his father wasn't Italian or his mother wasn't Italian. And I've spoken to many people like this in Italy, and they all suffer the same to children. We have to teach our children, respect the love of the others. This thing, racism, has a borderline somewhere from Middle East towards Europe. In Middle East, we respect, we love whoever comes to us. The only time we go through fanaticism is when the religion takes over. Otherwise, the love underneath is still the same. And somehow, we see that in China with respect to the Japanese, because what they've done to them. We have collectively, as knowledge seekers, to bring this to our children, that the next generation creates life, creates the condition of life for everyone the same. How do you expect that if what you call alien shows itself, and then how these children will treat him? If he's stronger, they respect him out of the fear of what he does. If he's weaker, they batter him the way they did with my child. I went through the same thing to understand this. many times, many years. I always said, I lived in England for 29 years. I never felt as an outsider because in so many ways, we came to understand the process of English living. We didn't stay, as many do, as outside stay out, and we keep our own cluster. We have to learn and teach our children to mix, to understand, because when you understand the culture, when you understand the way of living, when you understand the language, it's an asset. It's a wealth in the pocket of the knowledge and the soul of the man. And this is what we see. I have seen this right across 40 years of revolution in Iran, where the families have taken refuge in different countries, and many, always, the children were persecuted because of not being part of the origin. Because we are better, because we are from this land. How better do we come when we come across the foreigners of the what we call aliens? The teaching of Keshe Foundation, especially with television, has to be the teaching through the children, for them to understand no prejudice, for them to understand, to respect the fields of the Creator, not the physicality of the man. And this will bring changes in. This will bring a lot of changes in. Because you find out in certain ways, in certain cultures, we have embedded and embraced this hate, because then we become separate, then we are special, then we are something else. This is what the whole humanity has to change into. This is why I always say I'm Iranian, I'm proud to be, but part of the human race. Because it's, to me, the same. I lived amongst enough different cultures to understand that it's just the skin deep. The real man sits in his action and his soul, not in the color of his skin, not in the path of belief, not in the way and where he's been brought up. And this is what we have to teach our children, that that process does not take place. And it takes time. That's why we teach this way. We elevate soul of the man, that a man in understanding stops the next cycle. What are you going to do when you go to space? We don't talk to this energy pack, we don't touch the other one, but even we take their energy, because without that we can't live. We are all in interaction of the fields, in the interaction of physicality, interconnected. And once we understand this, we'll become blind to everything. And we only see one thing, the beauty of the soul of the creation. Any other question?
Well, we have Stefania with a hand up, and there's several other questions in the Q&A, including some from Salamia as well. Stefania, would you like to go ahead?
Mr. Keshe, can an electron and proton become again a neutron? I mean, the electron creation and proton creator, this is the aim of our creation, to become one with the creator?
You depends in the proton you become, what the strength of proton or electron you have as a composition inside, or you achieve, or you receive from within the structure. And every proton, in essence, once you're created, or every electron now is the essence of a neutron itself, because now is the beginning of the next cycle for it to divide. As I said many times, mankind knowledge has not completed to understand that even an electron in the process of its life goes through a conversion of the smaller and gets to the point that it reaches such a minute position that the strength of the fields of the creator can change its position and strength, or the environment. So at any point, at any structure, once you've gone through the division, now your structure is another neutron that is ready in time to convert or to divide, or to absorb.
Yes. Thank you. And can you elaborate on positron and electron more?
Positron and electron, we explained many times, is position dependent in environmental strength or inner field strength. The same electron can become positron if it moves into different band by field forces of the environment, and or by the strength change within the structure of itself. Positron and electron, or what we call positive rotation, clockwise rotation, and anti-clockwise rotation, does not change the totality of the entity of anything. It stays the same. It's just that field strength in position dictates the direction of rotation. Neutron doesn't go one way or the other or change itself, or the proton in respect to the electron, which is positron. It's just what happens, and if the composition of the fields bring them closer to each other, to accommodate, they have to receive the fields in a different direction. That's all. Mankind has made a lot of things from positron and electron, but in fact it's no different than both. It depends which way you dance in respect to the others, depending on the strength and the position. It's like when you dance waltz, you go anti-clockwise, and then you see there is somebody in front of you, you just change to clockwise because you don't want to hit them. That's all it is. You decide, due to the strength and the position of others, how to turn.
So matter and antimatter. You become matter or antimatter. Depends on your wish.
No,
No?
it depends on the position of the strength and what you manifest yourself in the position and dimension of the, what we call, the environment you're in.
The fields.
You could be as much antimatter to me as you're matter to somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
It's understanding the totality, and this is the phrases which is made by man, and we call it the principal matter transition and manifestation or matter state. We in the books speak about this because that was the only way we could gradually change for man to see the totality. There is nothing anti about the matter. It's just that we have to understand the position.
Yeah, I understood.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much.
And
God bless you and all of you.
thank you very much. Any other question?
Okay, we have no more hands up. There are several more questions. If you're willing to carry on.
Yep. A couple more.
Let's see, from the top, Achilles thus asks, can you please ask Mr. Keshe if he can explain the rest of the part of the 4 cups system he has taught a few months before by using the 4 cups from the 5 cup system to build a pyramid with which we can feed ourselves directly through energy instead of destroying any kind of life? How should we complete the rest of the connections? Any hint or clue would be great. Thanks.
No clue and no hint. Very simply because, as I said, copycat will go through a lot of things. You have to understand which part of the essence of the creation you want to interact with. You got to realize the interaction of the fields and what does that field mean. Do you want to gain a field or do you want to let the field go? You always have to remember the process of the creation in a simple way, that the weakest always takes from the strongest, or the strongest gives to the weakest, that become equal. This is the yang and yin equality. This is the equinox, what we call it, of the fields, of the both giving and taking. And once the man learns that and understanding it, you create an environment that all cells of your body becomes weaker conditioned to the position or the environment you're in. You will receive energies or you fulfill what it needs, and then you create same environment, a condition that the cells of the body, the weakest is stronger compared to the environment that you give out what you don't. That's how enhancement units work. That's how the secret of life is. When they feed you and go to the machine, it doesn't mean that you're going to say, what are you going to do with the surplus you haven't, you don't need? You become fatter and fatter or get energy? No. We take from you, we make the condition of the enhancement so low that your body, even the weakest cell in your body, transacts and gives the fields out to bring balance. So it can give to a point, and then it comes to balance, and then we change the condition of the environment of the enhancement unit that is stronger than every cell you have. Then you can receive energy. That's how you are fed in your body. So now we replicate it in the machine. So this is the principle you have to remember. And if you do this, it's easy to understand how to make the work of everything else to be done. And if you can't understand that way, you assume everything the way, the easiest way, the shortcut, which is create a ratio difference. And in the ratio difference, if you get it right, you take the energy from the cell which you want to move. But you have to create a condition for that cell to be able to release its energy. It's not just that because you put a battery in the side, you're going to empty it. There's a lot of factors you have to consider. Create a dynamic motion that the fields do interact.
Okay, we have another cup question from Nick in the live stream, who asks, Rick, can you ask the blessed soul of Mr. Keshe, is one of the ingredients for the cups to elevate our soul or soul of physicality is our own blood.
That blood gave you elevation. I think I answered you. If you're looking elevation through your blood and your blood has not managed to elevate you, there is something not fully understood in the process.
Okay. See, we've got a question from Felix in the Q&A here in the Zoom. He says, I would like to know if the foundation is accredited in Italy, because today there are many concrete possibilities to collaborate with government agencies. And if the foundation would not be recognized, their process might be a bit longer and harder. So I remember that yesterday night at Radio 11.11, you said that soon in Italy, production is going to begin. I imagine that something is moving, but it would be important to understand this a bit better. Thanks.
Italy is a very special case for Keshe Foundation. We withdrew from Italy totally due to misconduct of those who were running the Keshe Foundation. This matter now is in the hand of the very competent lawyers in Rome. And we've been assured, we will, as I said before, we expect arrest and prison sentences, because the way the Keshe Foundation was deceived and people around the Keshe Foundation received is so openly done that you could not believe it. So we withdrew operation from Italy, and now we have appointed some of the most competent lawyers in Italy, and they're taking the position. And we've been assured by the legal team that with the evidence we have, we expect 20 years prison sentence, at least for 2 members of the ex-Keshe Foundation who run the factory. They have influences in the finance police, and they've been threatening us. They have a police support as friends, but the legislation overlooks, and even the uncles now become implemented in the threat. So we make this very clear. Now, once this situation is settled very soon, most probably will not get to court because the evidence is so strong of the defrauding, that Keshe Foundation is, we own a company. We are very active in Italy. We haven't closed our company. We waited to have enough evidence. Now we have taken action. And then this organization with the records and the jobs done in Italy will go into action for a lot of things. You have to understand it's not just for only Italy. The European community has a scientific organization with accredited new technologies. In that organization, we have a scientist who's a friend of the Keshe Foundation. We realized how in 2012, suddenly the accreditation of the Keshe Foundation technology as a new technology was twisted by the Belgians with a threat. This is all in black and white. And one of these officers in this scientific accreditation of the Keshe Foundation has released document to us. So once you get accreditation as a new technology in Europe, then the European community supports you for development and the rest. Well, what we were going through at that time with the rules of the land and the deception and the fraud, as we've seen now, they're still carrying on with it. this was stopped in the scientific, what you call accreditation of the Europe. And then they influenced the others. Now the table has changed. And we tell you exactly how it's changed in a very short time. Then we become our technology, and all the teaching done by the Keshe Foundation becomes accredited as a scientific technology, and then the teaching in universities and the colleges. So you see, we don't have a problem in Italy. The problem sits now that we have met with a member of this committee in telling us how the accreditation was in the process of being passing, and the influence, as we see now, by the Belgian monarchy and the pressures they created on the European community forced the committee to put it aside. They haven't dismissed it. They have put it aside to be considered for the future. One of these, as I said, member of this committee has collected all the documents. And we've been told, and we've seen part of it, the whole lot will be handed to us when we see it. But in a way, it was a good thing, because it allowed us to mature to be able to teach more. And scientifically, now we are accredited by a number of organizations. Now we become part of the university structure. And the new positions which will be created for the Keshe Foundation will be accredited worldwide for our own teaching for ourselves. It's the how the others will want to do it. We have people who are working in the background to bring it as part of the education system and everything else. But the only reason we lost this position of accreditation is the influence of the criminality within the structure of the mentality of the Belgians, which we still see running at the moment. The lying and the cheating and using all sorts of things to trick. It's the habit of a nation, it's a culture, so we have to respect it. It's the only way there's still souls. And so once the situation now is changing, we've been told the same officer will take back Keshe Foundation technology to be accredited as a new technology in the European community, which then will change. We had it till 2012. It was under consideration, a lot of support was given to it to come up. When we did not give everything to one person, he, because of his point of influence, they influenced the others. And so now that is changed, because now this sits with us. We have the person who's in charge, part of this committee. And now he has said he'll take it back to the European community once the new documents are released, and it'll be accredited, because the number of people around the world which are practicing the Keshe Foundation technology will give it. As we've been told, we are evidence-based technology. And we have given enough evidence that it works in different aspects, be it from different things, and that will go through in a very fast way. Even, as I said, even in past 24 hours, 48 hours, you've been accepted as a plasma technology organization for us, what we want to promote in the commercial side. This is all taking shape. It took us nearly 8-9 years to do enough, to show enough, to confirm enough that the lies of one man, one nation is not effective anymore. As we've seen, it's already, we've seen so many lies in past few weeks on the internet that one of the people said, everything we read is 180-degree opposite to what the fact is, and people believing it. We said, no problem, let it go. Because it's no use. We fought this for 8-9 years. They took all our energy. Now we carry on, let them waste their energy. This is the waste of life. We've been talking about it, but you have to understand accreditation of the technology has already was accredited, was on the bench to be financed heavily. And we saw immediately what they did in the stock market. The president interfered with the Keshe Foundation because if the stock market value of the global would have come up, the technology would have taken off in a different way. But again, as I said, we know the president has a long list of misconduct, and this misconduct goes the same as misconduct, which is a habit of the Belgians. We see the documents are coming up in the court. So we just gotta be more mature and move on. And the way we done to teach, accreditation comes from a lot of you who used it to save yourself from Corona, or to take your pain away, or you made something with it that you enjoyed, even growing a piece of grass or a vegetable with it. It is the beauty of the knowledge, not the word of the mouth of those who try to get attention through the work of the others. Just be gracious, just carry on. But Italian situation is well in the hand of the most competent lawyers. And as we warned you before, we had to make some moves. We have made our moves, we collected enough evidence, and our lawyers at Vatican confirmed to us they will give us 20 years prison minimum. We took this guarantee because they looked at all the legalities. And what we said, these people stole from the foundation and they built up a business. As the business belongs to the foundation, it was stolen, it'll come back into the foundation umbrella and you will be benefited by it. But this is something which we have to leave, and this is all connected to the past of the Keshe Foundation. We had to let it go. The future is so bright. What we see coming up is so amazing. As we even speak today, members of the Keshe Foundation, different groups are traveling in different positions to secure and expand the Keshe Foundation in knowledge, in manufacturing, and in everything else. Most probably, hopefully within the next 24 hours, 48 hours, we hopefully, with the work of our team, which are already, I think they arrived at the destination, we most probably next few days secure one of the largest factories which we've been trying to get, and we get to the final point of moving on because of what we achieved. And then the next step, the same in many, many countries. We had a setback for 8 years, 9 years because of what we saw, but now, what we say, the whole element of the people who set us back, they're not within the structure of the Keshe Foundation. And now we see the success, and we've seen everything else. Stay on course and carry on with the teaching, because we are not there to give diploma and graduation. If you've been a knowledge seeker student in Keshe Foundation since 2014, none of you have received a single piece of paper to tell you you're graduated. Because you're graduated at the time when you need to use the technology, and you use it and you see the beauty of it. As I said, growing a flower, to those of you who used it or use it for corona, cancer, or whatever else. I told you many times, in the recent past, I have found peace, and I found the love of living and the love to live for. And this brings a different way than before, being kept continuously on the edge of pressure with lies and cheats. And we see the same lies and cheats still now. I suffered for 30 years with it. You lot are suffering with it in past few months. Then you see the turmoil you see on the internet is a turmoil I live daily with. Day in, day out, day in, day out. It's gone now. It's peaceful. Because nothing to do with me. If you understand what you see, was bombarded on the internet in past few weeks and months, now you see what I lived with for 30 years, non-stop. You get punch drunk with lies and cheats and everything else that it becomes a reality. Find peace the way I have, find love and care the way I have. You live my way and you see how the thing, everything is changing. Because when you're punch drunk, you don't know which way you're going because they keep you that way till they bring you to your knees. And we were just about on our knees when we escaped from the position. Now it's beautiful. You wake up, you want to do. I was started at 5 o'clock this morning, and while I was looking things happening, I see the Keshe Foundation team, they're still working around the world. 5 o'clock in the morning for them, they're still inputting. They're still working, people in Australia. There's not enough time. We have so much to do to bring so much beauty of the knowledge. We are accredited by having a television channel. We are accredited by having so many knowledge seekers, which is still there, are doing their work to support. We are accredited with how many of you trying to get programs done that you have a presentation that your language people understand the technology. These are accreditation. We don't need a certificate. Any other question?
Technology that will help that peace process, and I hope that that'll come soon.
It is here, but it just is in the candle condition, and will take fire in next few short time income. There's a lot happening in the background, a lot happening in the background, but the biggest way for us now is to use the new opportunities to emphasize on freedom of sharing technology and knowledge and nothing else. And in a way, become to understand by using our technology, you create a peace of mind, you create peace for a nation. And this is where it comes from. And each one of us has to find a way. It's a very interesting, if you look at it, I was watching a presentation in past few days, or past couple of weeks, by 2 world leaders. And the way one of the world leaders was, we call it, stabbed in the back, was so bad that none of the members of the parliament and the president or the leaders of the nation in the room, they could believe such a thing is said to them in their own parliament by another leader. And I watched the physical behavior of the 2 leaders. And I thought, this is no different than what happened to us. It's the habit of the nation. Go on the internet and watch closely the video which is released by, the title is Ghana will not export any cocoa to Switzerland. Something like this. Just go in it and watch it. The tradition is that the host gives a speech and then the guest gives a speech. The head of the Swiss nation, beautiful lady, praises Ghana for in supplying Ghana. She says, I think in the frame that every Swiss child knows about the gold coin, and a gold coin which has got chocolate in it. Both are sweet, which Swiss is famous for, holding the whole gold. And then they created chocolate which has got a gold coin on it, has the same. One is sweet for a mature man, one is for a child, but gives the same pleasure more or less to some people. And she thanks the Ghanaian for decades of supplying cocoa to Switzerland that can give such a beautiful thing to his nation. And she sits down, she praising the president. And then President of Ghana, which is his habit and the government, because we tackled this man, he's a thief by nation. But what does he say? In a very strange way, he says, the Ghana has decided not to export any more cocoa to Switzerland. And a president who gave such a praise to this nation got hammered so bad. And you see it, how it will vibrate in the society. And then he says, we want to, for the progress of our nation, to process it ourselves to get a better value for our product, which is the right of every president, every leader. But the way he puts it across, that you Swiss people, instead of processing in your house, you process it in mine. We want the technology to be used and us to be come up with, and we're not giving you anymore. But the one stupid question, this is a greed of Ghanaians, is the way we've seen what they've done with the Keshe Foundation, is that, okay, now you process the cocoa, where are you going to sell it? You understand?
Yeah.
This is the stupidity of this mentality of man thinking. So you got the investment to come. You still have to sell it to Swiss, but this time they reduce their cost by using your labor cheap. So the profit becomes more for the Swiss. I grab it, but you don't talk this way, that you're not going to get any more. In a way, is where is my cut? You understand? So it's a very, watch this video, go on it and watch it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It tells you a lot about humanity. I felt sorry in a way for the president of Switzerland, the lady prime minister. She was really got hammered in praising the man, and a few seconds later, the man literally hammers her down. And I thought, you don't do this with a guest, but they do the same thing in their nation. They don't do the Keshe Foundation. And it's the same, I told you, it's the same with the Belgium, the same what we had in Italy. We have to accept a culture as totality and somehow to bring to them, this is not the way things done.
Yeah. It's just another question, sorry, Mr. Keshe. With the vertical enhancement unit,
Yeah.
is that specifically for viruses, or is that the result?
Yes, I know what you're trying to tell me. We have created this system for this purpose. It's especially done this way, but we can adjust it to many other things according to how we set it. It has a hidden technology in it, number of hidden technologies that even, you know, as I said before, the guy who put one magnet and opened it, look, this is how Keshe Foundation makes it, we can all copy it. You can open it, but you will not understand the essence of it, the same as in the enhancement unit, that we can handle with the enhancement, the vertical enhancement unit, the space diseases. This is where the essence of the work will come. These are systems which are getting prepared for people to test, to understand. to be able to become the travelers of the space. And yes, it's developed in a very specific way for transmutation of energies, including the soul of the man.
Yeah. I'd like to bring one to Australia, but trying to
You
convince...
pay for it, we get it to you. And we have many doctors which will work it for you.
I haven't found a doctor here yet that will come in.
Thing I wanted to mention here, I just have to find it in the YouTube. Oh, from Paulo in the YouTube, who says, referring to Mr. Keshe, you must have been reborn a few times since you have been engaged in raising our consciousness for 6,000 years. I would like to know what cultures you have already gone through. Perhaps you were the ancestor of many of us, and by affinity, we are today knowledge seekers.
I was talking about this to one of the knowledge seekers very, very recently. And the interesting is, what was said, that is it the reincarnation or is it the same soul? It's the same soul. And with it, different physicality in the dimension of being able to understand how things can change and how you can bring a race to a position. In different ways and in different structures. The biggest problem for this race has been race as totality of life on this planet, not just man. That due to lack of the energy from the center, or what we call the inner core of this planet, not providing sufficient strength fields for its inhabitants, inhabitants have come to steal from the others to survive, if I can put it that way. You know, when you live in, you are given a certain amount of money to live and it's not enough, you get the second job, and if your job is not there, you go because you need to feed yourself, people who to steal and everything else and whatever. This has happened to this planet. Due to the lack of and the condition of it creating life, has not managed to sustain life by giving to its citizens that they do not need to steal. The whole structure of life in this planet will come on killing and destroying other lives for them to survive. The nearest only structure which is not killing but creating a condition for absorption is the vertical people. In a very indirect way they do that, because they don't kill, they create a root base, that they create a field, that the fields which are in the universe get absorbed to them. They have compromised the freedom of the seeing to be stationary but not commit the crime. And if the rest of the life on this planet, which is what we call the breathing side of amino acid mobile, or what we call the horizontal people, come change, being the ants, being the man, being the lion or the mosquito, go through the other process like receiving all the energy they need from inner sanctums of the, what we call earth, mankind will change. And so the only way we could compensate for it is to develop a technology to teach a technology that we can compensate for the lack of the energy, the fields, and this is through the gas production and then the field interaction. And the way I explained this to the scientific group some time ago, the way we have polluted the environment of this planet with CO2 and what we call the global warming expression, and it's taken time to happen, the process of the use of the gases will gradually become to a point that the same thing will be achieved over time. We have to do it in a slow pace, otherwise we create more problem, for more lives will be lost, because a lot have adapted to this condition of the present time. But overall, by increasing the fields which creates the stability of the emotion, doesn't matter what animal you are, which is mainly through the zinc and combination of interaction of the zinc and iron as a blood. Now with increasing that, it's like the way we polluted the air with burning the fuel. Now by adding the more of this conversion of the energy in the way we feed the planet with it, we'll reach that point of the balance that the planet will take enough, we create enough condition for it, hopefully, in a very, very small steps and measures that will create a peaceful animal that we start more tapping into the planetary system and the fields of the universe. That's the whole purpose of the work with the gases. That we change and we reduce the dependence on the package of energy, and we receive more and more from the environment of our existence, and then become passengers of the universe. I've said many times, it'll be interesting to see when we allow the first child in the universe to be born in the open space of the universe from Earth. Would it survive? And would it directly, in being born into the environment, will switch over to the higher strength that it lives through the structure of the universe? And this has happened many times in the universe, and man will not die in the space. No man will die in space unless he chooses not to convert. And this is why we developing and understanding of the creation of the new physical structure of life and the soul together, that the conversion mode is not there. When you panic in the physical life that you might lose the physicality, you go within the inner sanctum of the soul of the man or the creature. And then when you find peace, you manifest yourself. Or you manifest yourself in physicality when you want to protect your soul from anything, the way man does. We're becoming wise to the knowledge of creation so we can openly put it on the table. Thank you very much for today. And I hope and I wish one of the most beautiful years for the Iranian community and all those on the Silk Road and Japan who celebrate 21st of March as the beginning of spring and the cycle of life. And many of us across this planet will find the process of change from 21st of March with the creation of new life and new understanding of the fields of the creation, not matter state of the man who so much dependent on. Thank you very much. Hopefully we meet you on Saturday morning with a lot of problems, which is normal with the Keshe Foundation, where we start the Keshe Foundation TV. And then we repeat the same problem at 9 o'clock on Sunday. And from there on is in the hand of the capable team of the Keshe Foundation TV, which is most of you around the world from different groups and languages. The beauty of
that? Oh, sorry.
Pardon?
Sorry, continue.
We start at 10 o'clock on Saturday, Central European time. And then hopefully, as usual, we'll have some hiccups because we'll be more or less test running. And then after an hour or so, 2 hours reopening, we'll leave the tape to be played till Sunday at 9 o'clock Central European time, where we're trying to have 2 hours of open discussion on a television basis with the knowledge seekers around the world. And then we go into the up-to-date, we'll release the date and the time which languages will be what they call loading up their programs for what time every week. And then those programs are on the system that anybody can come in and watch as they. It's very much like what we have here. We teach every Thursday, but you can listen to it any other time. And we bring in that into the television structure. And that's how it's going to be. The list of which country, which languages, which nationalities will be done, because we have a Portuguese from Portugal, and then we might have a Portuguese from Brazil. So they carry their own language time. And this is how gradually will take shape.
Okay, so
and then,
sorry.
Carry on.
I'm trying to confirm the time on Saturday. There was a note in the KF TV channel telegram about it's 9 p.m. to 9:30, and we'll go live through midnight.
No. Yeah, so maybe you.
Nadszedł czas zmiany, przejścia do prawdziwego działania wszechświata. I nadszedł czas, aby zrozumieć, że używamy stanu materii, by osiągnąć poziom zrozumienia duszy człowieka. Teraz rozumiesz, być może, dlaczego Kreator wysłał swoich posłańców w imię tego, co miałeś. To oni przynoszą uszy, aby można było ich użyć, gdy nadejdzie czas Mesjasza. Mogę nauczyć duszę i przesłanie. Nie by się przeciwstawiać, ale poprzez ich zrozumienie, przez tych, którzy stali się Mesjaszami, aby dawać ze swoich dusz, aby ich elewować. Zadanie stało się łatwe. Szkoła jest tutaj i uczniowie są tutaj w oddaniu. Wtedy nie będzie żadnej walki między tym, co nazywają muzułmanami, a chrześcijanami. Baranek i lew będą jeść i spać w tym samym gnieździe. Chrześcijanie i muzułmanie będą spać i modlić się w meczecie, w tym samym kościele, w imię ich dusz, nie w imię religii, które są używane do tworzenia tak wielu konfliktów, dla korzyści tych, którzy byli hiperaktywnymi dziećmi. Nadszedł czas, czas zmian jest tutaj. I jak powiedziałem, moje życzenie jest moim rozkazem. Jeśli pragniesz ujrzeć pokój, droga pokoju jest wyłożona bardzo wyraźnie. To dusza świadomości zbiorowej. Poprzez dawanie stworzy tą pozycję zmiany. Nic innego. W duszy człowieka nie ma długopisu. Jestem pewien, że po wejściu do społeczności uniwersalnej nigdy nie zobaczysz niczego zapisanego, ale równowagę pól duszy egzystencji. Staraj się być na tyle pokornym, aby nie stać się aroganckim w mocy, którą zrozumiałeś i posiadłeś. Inaczej wpadniesz w tą samą ścieżkę kościoła i meczetu. To jest to, co obiecaliśmy i to właśnie dostarczyliśmy. Musimy zrozumieć działanie duszy i musimy zrozumieć, że dusza człowieka jest gwiazdą w kosmosie wszechświata. Jeśli porównamy duszę człowieka i tak wielu nas, 7 miliardów w jednym zbiorze, Ziemia jest jak galaktyka z tak wieloma gwiazdami. Kiedy patrzymy w głąb wszechświata, widzimy galaktyki z setkami milionów gwiazd. Podobnie jest z planetą Ziemią. Niesie 7 miliardów pięknych gwiazd, które są duszą człowieka. Niesie z sobą duszę tak wielu trylionów zwierząt, roślin i wszystkiego innego. Jeśli więc patrzą ci, którzy nie widzą fizyczności Ziemi i jej zawartości, co widzą? Widzą galaktykę z wielką ilością pięknych, świecących świateł. Każda według swojej siły. Każda zgodnie ze swoją pozycją. Niemowlę ma piękną duszę, podobnie jak staruszek. Dla tych niefizycznych, którzy nie widzą fizycznego wymiaru tej planety, ale widzą siłę pola, jesteśmy gromadami gwiazd. Ludzka rasa, każda pojedyncza dusza, nikt z daleka nie widzi. To jest dusza rybaka, to jest dusza kosmologa, to jest dusza prezydenta. Wszystkie świecą bez względu na fizyczność. To jest magia. Oto, co nowa nauka musi przynieść człowiekowi. Kiedy patrzymy przez naszą duszę, widzimy tylko gwiazdy w innych duszach. I to jest przełom. To jest zrozumienie. Na tym właśnie polegają te wszystkie nauki. Dojście do dojrzałości następnego poziomu, aby zrozumieć daleki kosmos. Wszechświat jest ostrygą dla tych dusz, które służą. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy do wejścia w kosmos. Wtedy człowiek jest gotowy, aby stać się częścią uniwersalnej społeczności, która została obiecana. Nigdy nie obiecywałem wam nieba. Zawsze obiecywałem wam elewację człowieka, aby przyłączył się do rodziny. A teraz macie klucz. To wy musicie otworzyć drzwi, aby zrozumieć, że mogę elewować duszę tych ludzi lub milionów innych dusz. Że fizyczne życie na tej planecie zmieni się. Wtedy jestem godny bycia częścią społeczności uniwersalnej. By być, aby służyć, aby się rozwijać, by być tam, aby być częścią, że w cyklu życia wszechświata staje się w byciu częścią, staje się częścią totalności. Kiedy człowiek osiągnie ten punkt, pojawi się nowy wymiar w sile duszy człowieka, który jest poza wyobrażeniem zrozumienia życia fizycznego. To jest brama do otwarcia nowego życia w nowym wymiarze, co jest poza wyobrażeniem tego, co mogliście nazwać nowym początkiem, nowym cyklem, gdzie ten cykl niesie ze sobą źródło stworzenia życia we wszechświecie i unikosie. To jest elewacja duszy, aby służyć. Stała się kluczem. Nie tron życia fizycznego. Czas jest odpowiedni. Nadszedł czas, aby człowiek przeszedł przez ten proces.